So based on my analysis, I did basically a pool of it was about 500-ish search results, okay, in SearchGPT specifically. And if you guys haven't had a chance to like mess around with this, I'll show you in my testing. And I tested a lot of different keywords with lots of different intent, and I wanted to see basically like what would happen based on that. And what you'll see here is like in this traditional environment. So funny enough is like, if you're not careful with your, the prompts or the queries that you use, it can start to influence the results. Okay. So what I mean by that is like, if you look at SEO certifications, well, this doesn't look super right. Okay. So something is not right here. And the reason is because one of my previous queries was just blue houses. That's all I searched, was just blue houses. So I was trying to see how it would react to visual intent, right? So I was testing lots of different intent to see how it would perform. But if you guys haven't had a chance to mess around with it, like, I would say that this like style of results is probably what we should expect going forward. Google is already moving in this direction. Okay. So if I search SEO in ChatGPT, or I search it in Perplexity, or I search it now on Google, we're going to get some sort of high level answer to whatever that query is. That's just how it's going to be probably going forward. The good news is when we go into this situation here, a lot of this stuff is super broad. Okay. Like you're not like, if there's any level of complexity or nuance in the things that you're discussing on your website, this is not going to do it for most users, right? So the reason why this is important, because it means that this can be a effective referral traffic source. So when we look at this, you'll see like it's linking to SEMrush, but if we click on the sources, we've got all the search results that pop up here. Okay. These are not shocking. When you look at these results, big surprise, SEMrush, Google, Ahrefs, HubSpot. And funny enough, one of the things that I noticed, and this is actually a pretty high percentage of this, is, and this is something that Google's fixed, not perfect, but they're better at it, is multiple ranking spots with the same domain. So I actually have some where I found in the case of backlinks, like Backlinko has 3 spots for backlinks. Now, another big variable that I'll talk about here in a second is keyword rich domains. SearchGPT happens to like those just like Google does. Okay. So this is not a huge surprise. All right. But the point is like, spend some time just messing around with this and you'll see like, it's decent. But it's not like, this is not, Google's better, just to be totally honest. Like as far as the quality of these citations and search results, Google is way better. And when I say better, I mean at understanding the intent of a keyword. Like Google is really, really good at that. It's not perfect, but it's really good at that. And, some of these is it's hit or miss. Now this is early, right? So I'll give it a little bit of a slide, but you'll see like an example here is like best content optimization tools. Clearly we need to work to drive more backlinks to appear in here. But the point is like, this is kind of what you're going to see if we kind of actually get rid of the citations. This is why it's so important to use traditional SEO and link building so that we can appear in this initial answer, right? This is what we want. This is all being pulled from the top ranking results for this keyword phrase. That's it. It's not that complicated. So like, if we want to be here when people, use a large language model, we have to actually appear on the top ranking results, or we have to artificially make that happen. There's things that we can do to make that happen, right? But the point is like, we need to be visible in the search engines. It's basically that simple. Now, here's the good thing is like, if you're listed here, like you can get some referral traffic, even in this little section here with the citations. And then we go to the sources and you'll see, once again, these citations here, this little block up here, it was about 90% of the ones that I saw were just pulled directly from the search results. So it's not like this citation section has like a different algorithm per se, but it's just basically pulling from the search results. Now I haven't quite figured out the the reason why it picks certain ones, but it doesn't seem to be super logical. So I think trying to find a logical conclusion to it is probably pointless. It seems to kind of just pick whichever ones are ranking well based on, I don't know, relevance, basically. So you'll see, because these, like the top 3 are all pulled here from the top 5 or 6 that are ranking. Okay. So it could be random. It could be some sort of technology that they're able to figure out which one is best for a citation. I don't know. But the point is like, if you want to increase your odds of being in the citation section, we have to be in the traditional search results. Okay. So that's part 1, is mess around with the SERPs, or mess around with this new search engine. And, it's interesting in many ways. Now, let's talk about what works. Okay. So 94% of the results use exact or partial match keywords in the title tag. This is not shocking. Okay. This is exactly what I expected when I started to dig in. And I found some results that were ranking that didn't have anything, but I also think it's just the byproduct of bad results. And I think over time, that will just be, this percentage will get smaller, maybe 1%, less than 1%, because the title tag is such a powerful way to determine relevance, right? It just is. And it works incredibly well. So it's like the type of thing, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why would they invent something when it works, right? So this is another example of like, you do this on Google, you're going to get the benefit in SearchGPT. It's as simple as that. Okay. And this is why, by the way, in Rankability, like this title here is, this is technically the H1, right? We do want the keyword in the H1 as well, but we really want it in the actual title tag that users do not see, right? So if we go to, SEO jobs Philadelphia, I'll just do this one, SEO jobs St. Louis, you'll see like the H1 oftentimes will match the title tag as well, right? So, but this one's a little bit different. Like my title tag's slightly different than the H1. However, it still includes that primary keyword in there, okay? So, but the point is we need to get that in the title tag. It's so critical. And there are pages that can go up 10, 20 spots just by adding the keyword to the title tag. And it is that powerful. So, and there's a lot of reasons for that, because it's like it's basically the starting point for satisfying intent, right? Before someone even gets to the page, just the title alone can tell you a lot about what that page is going to be about, right? So, so it's very important. And I know you guys know that. I'm kind of preaching to the choir here, but just so you know that, okay? Next thing, this is the part I thought was really fascinating to me. And maybe I'm just a massive geek, so maybe this won't be fascinating to you guys, but to me, there's been a lot of rumors going around that, and this isn't, I guess there's some like proof to this, that most of SearchGPT's search results are driven by Bing, right? Because OpenAI and Bing have a relationship via Microsoft. Okay. So the idea is like, okay, they have a relationship. It's billions and billions of dollars that Microsoft has invested in OpenAI. And it would make sense that they would use Bing to fuel their results. That's a very logical conclusion, totally logical. But there's something else going on here. Okay. And what I found is, yes, they are definitely using Bing, because based on the ones that the keywords that I looked at least, what I would do is I would take the results from SearchGPT, and then I would just run them next to the same exact search on Bing, the same exact search on Google, and then the same exact search on DuckDuckGo. Now, based on my kind of early analysis of this, the results were about 50% the same on both Bing and Google. So if I search backlinks on SearchGPT, the results on Bing and Google are about 50% the same, with some slight variance. Okay. But I don't know why. I just had I had a hunch, and I was like, I'm just going to check DuckDuckGo, because I knew that DuckDuckGo was like, for a while, the idea is that it was fueled by Bing, right? That's been the same idea. So I was like, oh, well, I'm going to just go and check. And then I went and checked, and I did one search, and I'm like, whoa, this is like, it could, because the other ones were They were similar, but I kind of had to like, they were in different spots and maybe some like were on the second page. Like I let it go as far as the second page to find the same outcome. But with DuckDuckGo, it was like same position, like same, like almost identical on almost like multiple keywords. And that really got me like into a rabbit hole. Like I was really deep at this point. But then I found out that DuckDuckGo, they do use Bing, but they also use over 400 different sources to determine their search results. So they use Bing, they use their other 400 sources, and they have their own dedicated crawler that they use to come up with these search results. So once again, the actionable takeaway from this is optimize for Google and you'll probably optimize for the rest. But the point is like, it's just interesting that DuckDuckGo is so similar. So it means that DuckDuckGo and SearchGPT have kind of similar algorithms that they're using. So take that for what you want. But the other big thing here too is like very important action item. If you've never set your websites up on Bing Webmaster Tools, I would do that today. Just take 5 minutes to get it set up. It literally would take you 5 minutes because you can actually just import your Google Search Console websites into the Bing Webmaster Tools, and it will import your sitemap as well. So you basically don't have to do anything. A couple of minutes of work, which will hopefully get you better indexation in Bing. If you get better indexation in Bing, you're going to probably do better in DuckDuckGo, and you're probably going to do better in SearchGPT. So it's all kind of circular in that way. But yeah, just interesting little thing that I found. And then 27% of the results that, at least that I found, use exact or partial match domains. So like in the case of Backlinko, this is just a perfect example of how powerful exact match domains are, or keyword rich domains. Because it's no secret that, backlinko.com is doing really, really well for backlinks. Okay, that shouldn't surprise anyone, right? But he has, I think there were 3 in here. Let's see, maybe this is a different one. Yeah, maybe it's a different search that I did. But where is it? Sorry. Yeah, well, there was some search I did where it was related to backlinks, and he had basically 3 different spots. But he has the #1 spot here for backlinks. He's backlinko.com. Keyword rich domains work. So, and you'll see this, like, even if you want to, kind of see some funny ones. Like I used all kinds of random examples because I really wanted to push it to the limit. But like Amish baskets, didn't know it was a thing, but I found it. And I searched it, and funny enough, the #1 result for this one is amishbaskets.com. So not surprising. Okay. So 27% may not seem like very big, but that's over a quarter of the results are using a keyword rich or exact match domain. So it's definitely significant. And then finally, last but not least, backlinks are by far the #1 factor. It's not even close. I can just tell you that now. It is by far the most important factor. And in fact, the median authority score here was 38 in SEMrush. And 38 is high. That's really, really high for a median. And so that just tells me that there's a major preference for authority websites to ultimately show results in SearchGPT. So, which is the same as Google. Okay, so that's not super surprising. So yeah, that's kind of high level what I found. And then there's some kind of bonus stuff, like there isn't, like, at least what I found, I didn't see any Reddit or Quora or forums or UGC driven websites. That just didn't exist at all. Maybe that will change, but based on what I saw, I didn't see anything like that. Another one is, and I mentioned this, 90% of the citations are pulled directly from the search results. Another one, same domain can occupy 2 spots or more. I actually found some instances where it was 3 of the same domain. And then content freshness matters a lot. Like I found one keyword where there was like a couple results from 2017, but everything else was like in the last 3-4 years. So we're not talking like really old stale pages. Like the stuff that is up to date is really important. So yeah, high level overview. But the point is like doing everything that you're already doing in your SEO process for Google. Just keep doing that. don't feel like you need to have a separate strategy completely for SearchGPT. But I will say it's funny how old becomes new again, even though it really never went away. But like getting backlinks on the most important websites in your industry is literally critical. I cannot stress this enough. It is like the most important thing at this point, because that is exactly what they're using to determine who should be there. It is literally like the number one thing by far. And so we have to be there. We just have to be there. And of course, we also want to rank for all the keywords that are important for our business in Google and Bing and these other platforms, because that's also something that they're polling. Like if someone is searching a specific keyword, if you're ranking, you're going to increase your odds of showing up in the large language model search. Okay. So anyway, questions on that. Any questions for me? Hopefully it's pretty straightforward. Okay. Next thing. Alicia, go for it.
Oh, I have questions, but not related to what you were talking. If you like to, what's
That's
your
fine.
question? I can save it for later.
No. We can go. Yeah, go ahead.
You sure? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was wondering that I'm learning all these Hrefs, right? I put my competitors here, and I noticed that there are two competitors. They are way, way more than double of the backlinks than me. That's why they are ranking number one, number two, and keywords as well. But there are another two competitors. They are like a DA is very low, and also the backlink is very much less than mine, and also keywords too. But they are just ranking very good, like number 3 and number 4.
Okay.
Just
Tell me
what am I missing?
what keyword?
Same thing, cowhide rug.
Cowhide rugs. Okay. All right. I'll use Href specifically so we can take a look at what we're seeing here. Okay. So, all right. So you are, what's your domain again? Just can you remind me?
Mine is, yeah, rodeocowhiderugs.com.
Okay. All right. Where are you? All right. So the competitors that you're referencing, I would imagine, are probably this one
Yes.
and this one
No, the number
and
one
this
is,
one.
yeah, number one is always good. He has a lot of backlinks, a lot of keywords. Number
Yeah.
4, he doesn't have as much. And then
Mhm.
number 4 and then number 5. These
Okay.
two.
Got it. Okay. So before you even think about the link element of this, okay, the first thing that you have to look at is are the domains themselves. Okay. And I touched on this already today. But having a keyword rich domain is like it's like having kind of like a secret weapon. Okay. It's unfair, it's overpowered, and it works incredibly well. And this is an example of, a query where like this basically just proves the point to the fullest extent. Okay. Cause we have, cowhide, we have another cowhide, we have cowhide again. This one is, it's half, it's got half of the query. So I won't count that one. And then cowhide again. And then cowhide outlet, you get the point. Okay. And then cowhide's international. So this is like usually in most queries that I see, I'll see maybe 1 to 2 exact match or keyword rich domains. It's pretty rare for me to see 6. That's pretty intense. Okay. So this is, a situation where I look at this and, if I didn't have a keyword rich domain, I'd be pretty concerned about my success, because it is very, very hard to beat websites like this because they have overwhelming relevance. And relevance is really, really powerful. In fact, it's more powerful than just straight links at a lower authority, in a lower authority environment like this. Okay. So the reason, why they're ranking, of course, it could be a variety of things. I'd have to examine it. They could be hiding backlinks. Like there's a lot of things that could be happening here. But the main thing I'll tell you, like the biggest variable, at least for this query, I can tell you is having that keyword rich domain. And if you don't have one, the way you overcome this deficit, like let's say you don't have a keyword rich domain, you do have to acquire a significant amount of backlinks, especially high quality backlinks, to overcome that deficit. So if we look at a few, we'll go ahead and take these off here, and we'll look at like the weakest website here. Okay, so they have a DR of 0. Now, why are they ranking? Well, we can try to figure out the reasons why, but it could be a lot of reasons. I look at this site, and it's a clean website. It's got, it looks like it's got great user experience. There's some things I would change, but for the most part, it's going to get the job done. So there's no issues on that. So they have a good site. They have a very, very strong domain name. And we can look at the links that they have and see, are they worth anything in any way? Okay. So we can look at the DR, let's just sort this by do follow only. And we'll take a look. Do they have any links that are worth it? And the answer is no. So this is a situation where I would have to dig in a little bit deeper, because if links are not the contributing factor here, then there must be something else going on here. And at this point, I would need to obviously study this homepage itself and see how well it's optimized for the primary keyword. And I would also need to investigate, and this is more for you as like your homework, is number one, obviously using Rankability to see like, okay, how is this particular competitor optimized? And then also looking at how much topic authority have they built? So how many pages do they have to support this primary topic of cowhide rugs, right? So one thing you can do is there's two ways to do this. You can go into Google and do a site colon search with the competitor. If you really want to get the best data, I would actually use Screaming Frog. I would crawl their website. That's just what I like to do. I crawl their website. I see what's going on very quickly, and I can see, oh, okay, they've got 17 pages about various topics related to cowhide rugs, right? So I also need 17 pages to make sure that I at least match them, right? So this is kind of the way that you have to kind of reverse engineer what they're doing. And that's all you can really do, right? Because it's always going to be highly dependent on the competition that you're up against. But I can tell you, trying to figure out like why they're ranking sometimes can be wasted effort, and sometimes it's best to just focus on how you can improve your own situation. And if you have more links than them, that isn't necessarily a situation that that's not enough information to know if that's going to help you beat them. Because if you say you have a lot of backlinks, I don't know the quality of those backlinks, right? And the quality of the backlinks are really, really important. In fact, you could have a significant amount of backlinks going to your domain, but if they're not if they're low quality and they're not relevant and they are not from authoritative sources, you actually could have way worse performance. In fact, there's some situations where people building links was actually far more detrimental than just doing nothing at all. They would have been better off just don't even build a single link than the stuff that I often see with some people building links, because it is like the number one reason why a site will get penalized. It is like links are the number one factor for penalization, like hands down. That's why you have to be really, really careful. You have to really know what you're doing. And if it's, there's a lot of strategy involved. And, I talked to hundreds and hundreds of small business owners over the years. And, sometimes they've come to me for SEO help. And I say, okay, well, what have you been doing for SEO? They say, well, I've just, been buying Fiverr gigs for links. And I'm like, well, I can't do this. I can't work on this campaign. Like that ain't going to work for me. Right. I'm not going to, it's really, really hard to dig yourself out of a hole if you've done that. Now, I'm not saying that's your situation. I'm just saying I need more information is basically what I'm saying. So that's one thing that I'd be kind of investigating. And if you really want to dig into your competitors, it certainly doesn't hurt. Like I think there's two things that you should always do in every SEO campaign. Number one, do a keyword gap. Like, so go and run a keyword gap in SEMrush, run a keyword gap in Ahrefs, whatever tool you prefer, and see what your competitors are ranking for and what you're not ranking for. And that alone can give you a lot of information about kind of the deficits that you have in your content. So you have to start to work to bridge that gap. The second competitor analysis technique is just a backlink gap. See the links that they have that you don't have. Okay. And then, one last thing I'll add to this, like my last point. The reason why you want to be really careful about trying to gain insights from one particular competitor or even two is because of outliers. Okay. Because the challenge is like, even in the context of like rankability, we made a decision, Simon and I, that we were going to use median word count, right? We debated about this. We talked about this. This is a very important decision. And that's because sometimes there's a competitor that has 100 words that's ranking, right? That just happens. And other times you'll have a competitor that has 20,000 words. It's just not, you can't look at like the extremes and be able to make an educated decision based on the extremes. You don't want to do that. So in the case of SEO, a lot of people don't talk about the fact that there's just sometimes outliers that are ranking. They just, for some unknown reason, they're here, but a lot of the time it doesn't last. And I've seen this happen a lot of the time in certain SERPs. I'll see an outlier ranking and I'll like lose sleep at night. I'm like, why are they ranking? I cannot figure this out. Like did like, full dissection of everything that they're doing. And I can't figure out why they're ranking. But then I realized I'm like, it must just be an outlier. And then I just let it kind of ride out. And then a year later, they're gone. It's just what happens. So, and one thing too, there is, this does happen from time to time. And this is another variable is new sites sometimes get preferential treatment. I don't know why that is. You'll see a lot of the time, like you'll see this with like really sketchy people that are trying to sell like, I don't know, affiliate marketing, training or like some sort of AI, like mass generation AI content software or something like that. You'll see that like, oh, we just started this new website and it has this much traffic, right? They'll do that. Oh, we just started this website 3 months ago and it has all this traffic from AI content. Well, the thing is they don't show you the chart in 2 years, like 2 years later. They just show you the chart for the first 3 months. So you really don't know how effective something is until you've proven that it has staying power. And so there is this thing that happens. It's like in weightlifting, like if you've never lifted weights before, there's something called newbie gains, right? So when you start weightlifting, someone who's never weightlifted, they tend to put on a lot of muscle very fast. But then the law of diminishing returns, they start to flatline and then it becomes much harder to ultimately build that muscle. So it's like, it's the same thing with SEO. A brand new website can sometimes get a really abnormal lift in performance. But then once it's been sitting there and Google starts to collect more data about it, it starts to realize, this isn't a very good fit for this keyword. They haven't proven themselves by getting more citations and more links. And then slowly you'll watch the fall. It happens all the time. I see it all the time. So I'm not saying that's the case with this one, but I just want you to be aware of, various variables that could be influencing this situation. So, so I hope that helps.
Yeah. Definitely. But I think I have a strong domain as well. Rodeo cowhide rocks. So why doesn't help me a bit? I tried everything. I'm struggling, but I know I have a lot of work to do. It's just not working so far.
Is this you right here?
Yes. Yeah, this is my.
Okay. So, sorry, one second. I'm going to take a look at this real quickly. Yeah, I mean, because you have a good keyword rich domain. So you've got that covered. But I want to see. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So this to me is something that I would be concerned about if I saw this, which
Uh-huh.
is you have an internal page beating your homepage. And to me, that's a signal that something is wrong. And your domain strength, you have a 13 DR. So, at a 13 DR, it's not so strong that you can overcome significant technical issues. So if you haven't handled the kind of like technical side of your website to the fullest extent, that level of like domain strength is not enough to overcome that. Like you're like 13 is basically like not a ton of referring domains. So if you had like a 50, then I'd be like, okay, then there's something really wrong here. But at 13, 13 verse 7, there's not a significant difference. And by the way, this is probably important to know, but the way DR or domain rating works in the context of Ahrefs is like every level that you go up gets magnitudes more difficult. So to go from 0 to 10 is like not super hard, right? Like I'll show you like rankability, for example. I'll just show you real quickly. Let's see, rankability.com. Like we have 84 referring domains and we're at DR 34. So, you see the difference there is like, that's not a lot. Like that's not a ton overall to get to a DR 34. Now we'll go to gotchaseo.com, 2,700 referring domains to get to a DR 73. I've probably been a DR 73 for like, I don't even know, really long time. I mean, super long time. And that's because every single digit that you climb in DR is magnitudes and magnitudes more difficult. It's just the way it works. So, and that's why like, I'll probably never get to a DR 90, right? I mean, unless I do this for another 10 years. So, that's probably the only way. But the point is like, you have a lot of room for growth. Like at 13, there's a lot more room for link acquisition. So on that point, but the other thing too is just based on what I see when you have 2 pages ranking, and especially you have an internal page that's beating your homepage, despite having a keyword rich homepage, that's a signal that there might be some levels of keyword cannibalization. And I would honestly, what I would do is I would probably run a screaming frog crawl. This is where I would start is run a screaming frog crawl, make sure you integrate Google Analytics, Google Search Console, and Ahrefs, all those APIs, and then look at all of your index pages and just start to investigate and say, okay, how many pages on this website do I have about cowhide rugs? Like that one phrase, how many do I have? And start to see like, do I have multiple pages that are basically targeting the same exact keyword phrase? That's a place that I would begin because this shouldn't, to be totally honest, probably should not be happening. This is a signal to me that something is really, really off. And we can actually kind of investigate your link profile too, and see kind of what I'm seeing here. So, okay, so this is also a thing I'd be paying attention to because we'll go ahead and remove, put that in there. So the one thing you want to see is I'll just actually remove this so you can see what this should look like. Okay. Actually, let's get all of these, get your whole situation. Okay. All right. So if you're Google, imagine you're Google, right? Just for a second, imagine you're Google's algorithms and you see this, you see what's going on here. You've got good influx of links coming in, and then, now it's flatlining and now it's starting to fall. You have less pages and everything's just kind of slowly falling, right? you wouldn't expect to have high performance with this chart, right? Because this is not a positive signal that we're sending to Google's algorithms. We want to send positive signals to the algorithms. So a positive signal is the opposite of this. So like if we had this growth here, we want to see consistent growth of backlinks, referring domains, and new organic pages growing at the same speed. Right? You want those growing at the same speed. What you don't want is just organic pages climbing on their own. You have to have both of those climbing at the same speed. That's like the perfect formula. Okay. And if you look at any sites that are very successful, you will see that. You will see that nice trajectory of just, that growth going. So for me, what I would do is probably make some investments in link building, even if it's a small amount, just a few a month if you can, because you're in a link loss environment right now. Like you're losing links over time. You do not want that. That's like the ultimate signal to Google that, hey, my website's no longer getting votes, right? And you don't want that. So that's the first place I would start, is like fixing this graph to start getting consistent link growth. Begin there. And then also begin thinking about how do we build more content to support, and capture more keywords. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
let's look at the backlinks themselves. So go to your referring domains and see. All right. And as far as do follow links, we're looking at about 260. And we'll look at your highest traffic ones. So let's see here, rent.com. Okay, that's good.
By
That's
the
a
way,
really,
this is okay. Yeah, I wrote a blog and our editor approached me and she wants me to link to her. She linked to me. It's a very good deal.
yeah, no, this is a good link. Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see this one here. This looks like just some sort of image link. Let's see.
This is paid for the PR release.
Yeah, that's like a PR press release link.
But not so important, right? That's those.
Yeah, no. This one seems to be fine. Yeah, so I mean, like, I think there's definitely room to improve as far as the link profile. And like something I'm noticing right now is like this bookmark service one. Like this type of stuff, this is the type of stuff that you don't want. Like this is the stuff you really don't want in your link profile. And this is, there's a bunch of services that do this and it's fine. It's not going to completely destroy you, but I'm just saying over time, you don't want this stuff. The links that you really, and this is relatively current, like recent too, like in May. So, the best links that you can possibly get are links like this. This is the perfect link. Like if you can get 100 of these, it's basically impossible to fail. Like I'm serious. If you can get 100 of these, you'll be good to go. But you like all the bookmark links and anything that's artificial or not editorial in nature, just don't do it. Like just straight up don't do it. It's not going to help you. In fact, it probably hurt you more than anything. So I would discontinue anything that's like that. Just don't do it anymore and replace everything that you're doing with purely editorial links. Editorial links are more expensive to get, right? It's just the nature of them. And the reason they're, expensive is because they work, and the stuff that isn't expensive doesn't work. It's just the way it is. And so if you want to get better performance, I would start to make some of those investments. It will make a big difference. But at the same time, I would highly, highly recommend doing a technical audit, like really dig in. Because if you find some situations of keyword cannibalization, it could certainly be holding you back. So I hope that helps, Alicia.
Yeah, I think you got a point. Probably, I feel like because before I didn't have so much knowledge. Since I'm following you, I'm getting more and more clue. I was clueless. And I was only targeting one keyword, writing multiple articles. Probably that's what happened. And speak of the links, I'm talking to a PR company, and the guy said he's gonna publish like 10 to 12 editorial. It's more like a introduction of the company, the background of something like that, and to some magazines or some publishers. Is that good links? He said editorial is not a press release.
Yeah. I mean, as long as it's editorial in nature, yes, it will be a good thing. But I would just be careful because I'm not saying anything against the company you're using, but a lot of these PR firms, they say, oh, we're going to do PR for you. And then it's just a glorified press release. So I would be careful because those don't get as much credit as a pure editorial link, right? Like the purest of forms.
What about the personal blog?
Sorry, what was the question?
What about personal blog?
Getting a link from your personal blog to your site or going after personal blog?
Other people. I just purchased two from Fat Joe, and they said, well, the link you give to me, it's the best match is we outreach to these blogs. And they are like good DR 40 something, and they wrote an article for me, and then they link to my site. But I figured out that those are personal blog. It's not like, something like a business site.
Well, no, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, I mean, as long as it's a legit site, but sometimes those personal blogs are abused really heavily by link sellers and link buyers. So I'd be careful. But also, this is important. Like I would spend some time studying this concept, especially for your type of website. Okay. Reverse silo technique. Okay, I'll show you real quickly. So this technique, my table of contents doesn't work. Okay. I guess I didn't put it in here. Okay. Well, Google reverse silo and you can search my name and you'll find it. But basically the way that it works for a business like yours, and this is actually designed originally when I started kind of pushing this was because of e-commerce. Because I realized a long time ago that it doesn't make sense to get a lot of links to category pages and product pages. You need to focus on getting links to informational assets and then driving that link equity to your important category pages. So if you're going to use a service like Fat Joe or any of the link vendors that exist out there, you're going to be much better suited to drive those links to something that's very linkable in nature. It's really important. And that will keep you safe from penalties and other things you might deal with. Nothing wrong with getting homepage links, certainly a good thing, but I would make sure you're driving some deep links into some informational content. And that's a whole separate discussion altogether, but just throwing that out there. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate
My pleasure.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Tomas, thank you for your patience.
Hey, Nathan. Just a quick query. So I have a new client, I'm just put this on, that we're starting out. They have a Squarespace site, so it's going to be one where I upsold them on migrating to WordPress because I don't take anything outside of WordPress, basically. That's my motto. So the question I have, and maybe if it's okay if I can share just to maybe walk you through, because it's a bit on the strategy, of like run it.
Okay, yeah, you should be good to go.
Beautiful. Let me just show you. So there are psychologists clinic in Sydney. This is a page. Our goal is just on the website renovation, we're going to focus on basics. We're not going to go crazy. They don't even have service pages. But the main concern is she said that they wanted to continue ranking for anxiety clinic, which they're doing number one. I just did our research following the academy, and anything that is anxiety clinic and Sydney, they're ranking number one. However, the goal as well is to start ranking well for psychologists, Bondi, which is a place there near Sydney, which is more localized. And that's where she has the Google business profile as well. So the first question I have is, I'm a bit skeptical to even make too many changes here, because although I see there's a lot of, things that are wrong with the H1s and it's a whole mess. Do I play too much around this when they're getting the anxiety, like on the homepage, getting the results? Or do I focus then on building the other pages, let's say for, psychologists, Bondi, and, maybe anxiety or depression and so forth? Like from a strategy, would you change too much things here?
Yeah, well, honestly, I wouldn't be afraid to mess with this homepage in this specific scenario because of the sole reason of their domain. Mm-hmm. They are not going to have any problems ranking. They're just not. Like all of the stuff that you just showed me with all the multiple H1s and lots of stuff in their headings, like super stuffed, like all of those things are not the reason why they're performing well. Right. In fact, they probably could be doing better if they restructured a lot of that stuff. So if you click on the detailed Chrome extension one more time for me, if you can. Yep. So, okay. So like the title here, the title structure, I think is actually pretty solid for the most part. Is it Bondi? Is that how you say it? Bondi?
Yeah. It's a beach there. Yep.
Okay. So that's a city outside of the metro?
Yeah. So you have Sydney, the main city, and then Bondi, that's quite small. It would be more Bondi. This is the main one which is slightly bigger.
Got it.
It has 170 searches, let's say, in SEMrush.
Okay. So I would probably kind of restructure the title tag a little bit to be psychologists in Bondi Junction, Sydney, specifically. Okay. I would just kind of restructure it that way. I don't really know what the available now is. I don't know what that. It's a weird modifier to have in there. I would assume they're available during business hours. So I would do that part. And then the most important part is actually that pipe that you have right there, the pipe, and then the anxiety clinic. I would keep that there. Mm-hmm. And I would probably actually Sydney's there. I would probably just move Sydney to the other part that I said, and just keep the pipe and then their brand name and keep that there, because what that will do is basically guarantee that they're not going to lose performance on that kind of brand, technically branded query in that regard. And I think the description seems to be pretty solid. The only thing, I think it's fine. I think it's good. It's a little long, but other than that, that's not a big deal.
Yeah. But is it worth, I guess the main thing is I was going to run it by Rankability as well and try to even improve it to make it more relevant, even though they're ranking #1. But do we continue focusing on the homepage for anxiety? Because typically my approach is, I know that they want to focus locally, but they do telehealth, so they can take patients from interstate. However, the main thing I want to get really clear is, all right, if the homepage, we leave it for the anxiety clinic approach, where we speak more about anxiety and how they frame it, and then is it worth creating another Bondi page, because this is a site that is going down, right? And we'll have to do a lot of work to kind of lift it up. They need content. It needs a lot of work, like technical issues, which I'm diving. But does that make sense? That's kind of where
Well, do they have a physical address in that city?
Yes, they have in Bondi Junction, which is
right. So so for me, that's like, that confirms that it would make perfect sense to target the homepage for that phrase. So what I would do is, so that exact phrase that you have right there, which you said, gets about 170 searches a month. Okay, I would take that exact phrase, run it through Rankability, and see how well they're optimized. I'm going to go ahead and predict it's not going to be very good. They're probably not going to score super well for that phrase, because based on what I'm seeing, there's a lot of kind of generic stuff on this page. And so that would be something I would definitely do, because the page is not it's not specific to the location that they're going after. And if they really care about that location, you're going to have to make that abundantly clear above the fold. That's really important. And is this their headline right here? In-person and online therapy for adults, kids, and teens. Is that their headline?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's always fun.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, like, to say that we could spice it up a little bit is being nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Like we could, make this a little more interesting. But it's important that we get that kind of keyword phrase and location, like that needs to be front loaded above the fold. So that's going to be a discussion you're going to have with them and say, like, guys, because your address is here, we're going to have to target the homepage specifically for that. And if they want to go after any other locations, let's say they want to go after Sydney, which is probably very competitive, they would need to create a dedicated page specifically for that. Right.
Yeah.
But for this situation, it's like if I was working with, chesterfieldplumber.com. Well, I would absolutely hit the homepage for Chesterfield Plumber. And if they wanted to go after Baldwin and Manchester, I build out those secondary pages, right? But it's always, for me, I always focus on wherever their address is. And I've had to battle some clients over this before because they just don't like that. Because they're like, well, my address is in this like little small city. And I'm like, well, that's not my problem. This is where your address is. So we have to optimize for where your address is. You can't just magically rank in the metro without having an address there, right? So it's not what they like to hear a lot of the time, but this is the current situation. If their address is there, Google is already going to put them into that box. It's just a fact. Yeah. Google's algorithm is going to understand that this is where they service. So double down on it. Really get win in that one city and then start to attack the other ones. But it all begins at the homepage. So for me, I would have zero hesitation to optimize this page for the keywords, no doubt. So
to recap, then what you're suggesting, because that's really solid. So as you can see, this is the address, right? They have the Bondi Junction. So what you recommend here is the primary keyword in this case would be, because she wants to definitely retain the anxiety, right? Which is ranking top position. And that's my only concern, not to mix too much things and then suddenly that dropping, but to focus on that psychologist Bondi Junction. We have the exact domain, so we can take a bit of that change in strategy. So we use this as Bondi Junction. And then in the future, let's say if she wants to go for Sydney, it would have to be like a service of suburb page as a strategy, not the homepage.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And I like I said, I don't believe you'll lose the ranking for the brand as long as you retain it in the title tag, retain it in the title tag, retain it in the meta description. And if you can place it in, cause you're going to have an H1 that's going to have the keyword, and then place it in the first paragraph, maybe that will probably be more than enough. And then if you need to, drip it in throughout the page if you have to, but I don't think you'll have any issues whatsoever with that, especially considering the nature of the exact match domain. It's just not going to happen.
Beautiful.
So
and the last one, thanks, Nathan. That's really good. For migration at a high level, for a site like this, do you have any I'm going to do a staging site and then move it to WordPress, but do you have any quick recommendations there aside from mapping the URLs? And is there anything else that you have done from Squarespace to WordPress? Because I haven't used Squarespace before at all.
Yeah, we've actually done a Squarespace to WordPress migration relatively recently, and you basically outlined the most important parts: getting the URLs mapped, because the URLs are probably going to be different from Squarespace to WordPress. It's just the nature of it. So that's most important, and then the thing you really want to do is make sure that the WordPress is the back end of WordPress is all set up appropriately when you're about to move over. That's important. So installing the plugins and getting that all squared away, so that way it's a very clean transition. But aside from that, I mean the biggest chat, it just depends on what the client wants. So in the one that's in my mind right now, we basically just took their design that they have on Squarespace and just built the same design on WordPress, right? So that's all that we did. And so we didn't really retain anything from their old site. We just kind of basically rebuilt and at the same time redid the content in that migration as well. So like taking advantage of the migration to do a full kind of rebuild across multiple pages. And so that's another thing is like, just take advantage of that. Like if you're making the move, you might as well do a clean upgrade as well.
So that's the approach, like new content and create like 3-5 service pages. And then of course, conversion optimization, like, improve all of these, which is a bit, cool.
And I think above the fold there, like definitely add some conversion elements if you can. Maybe like a nice form. So I'd probably do like a left-right format or something of that nature, because obviously there's some room to improve on the CTA front there. So
100%. No, thanks for that. I appreciate it.
Yep, my pleasure. All right, Guy, go for it.
Hey Nathan, would you say like for like new sites, would press releases be like good foundation links, or like would you just go straight to like editorial links?
I mean, I definitely go right for editorial links in most cases. And I view press releases as like secondary support in that way. I don't think there's necessarily like a benefit to what order you do it in. Like if you do it first or you do it second, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. But it's more just to remember that like if I was ranking different link building techniques in tiers, press releases would be like D tier, right? They wouldn't be even close to the link types that I would think are very good, but they're not an F, right? There's some value there, but it's just not like, don't think they're going to move the needle on their own. Typically they won't. So yeah, definitely investing in editorial links is probably going to be your best bet. So,
okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, Dale, thank you for your patience.
No problem. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're good to go.
Okay, good. Yeah, sometimes this thing isn't working. Right?
Oh, it's okay.
Something's wrong. Can we go back to rodeo cowhide rugs?
Yes.
What I'm looking at, so I'm in Canada, so I got to search it, word for word here. But when I click on the website, I click on the link, I'm getting rodeocowhiderugs.com/? and a whole bunch of stuff. What is that? Is my question. And then the other thing is there's an interstitial that pops up. That can also negatively affect. You didn't get an interstitial, did you? Or did you?
No, I
wasn't watching.
Yeah, I don't know if I did. Maybe it's an extra intent related thing.
So you don't, like in your URL in the address bar, you don't get all that stuff. I'm getting a ton of stuff.
Yeah, well, did you come through Google?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Sometimes that can happen. Sometimes Google will throw on random stuff on a URL. That occasionally that will happen, but it might also be it could be server side as well. So yeah, I'd have to try to like replicate that and see where that's coming from.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, certainly something worth investigating if I were Alicia. I mean, if that's the case.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that. What did you see? Can you show me, please? Thank you for.
Do you want me to share my screen?
To use my as example anytime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want me to share my?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Okay. Are you there? Okay. Do you see it?
Yeah, that's something that's sometimes generated by Google. I've seen before.
So I'll show you the experience. So here's the search. This is not an ad. It's right here, and then it's this, right? So all of this goes away, and the everything else is fine. See, there's my interstitial, which can negatively affect the site. And when I do that, I didn't take that backslash off. Interesting, eh?
I think maybe have something to do this very annoying thing I used to put like a language, a different language, and then I try to delete it, but it's just doesn't go away. And I have a picture on Google when you put a cowhide rug. I have a picture, and then you can click and then goes to a Korean language. And the people don't understand, but that's a very good ranking. I mean, like an image, and I don't know how to fix. I do the 301 redirect to my English version, but it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, if you could, Dale, if you can replicate that URL and you could paste it into the chat, um,
This one
that
here.
would, yeah, yeah. Like if you can get, yeah, copy that whole thing and paste it into the chat for me, if you can. Yeah, and I'll see. I want to see something quickly here.
So this is changing. This changed to Canada for me up here, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe that's why. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe this is working just fine. I mean, this is a pretty advanced site. I don't think I could work on a site like this. I'd be afraid of breaking it.
Yeah. Well, so what I'm seeing here on my end is that URL with those parameters or whatever this is going on here is canonicalizing to the homepage. So even if it is being generated on the server side or being generated by Google, it seems like it's more of a server side related thing. It's probably not causing any problems.
Okay.
It's just odd more than anything. So it
That's
would be something that it would be like if this was my website, I would just be like so annoyed by it that I'd
Yeah.
want to figure out what it is.
I
But
do.
it's not the type of thing that's hurting your rankings. It's just something that's annoying. So it's just one of those things that happens.
Okay.
Now
Actually,
I will
that,
say
that was my question too, is could this be
okay.
part of that? Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. And I don't think so, but I do think what Dale brought up as far as the interstitial, once again, on its own is not going to be devastating, but it's let's say it's one more mark against the situation, right? And the reason why this interstitial, Alicia, and this is something you're going to have to work with in the settings for the pop-up. You don't want to hit the user with the interstitial pop-up like this right away. You want it to be, there's ways to do this that's much more strategic. So there's two ways to do it that won't affect your SEO performance, right? And I'm speaking in terms of purely SEO performance, and Google has tons of guidelines about this. They say it's a big no-no essentially. Okay, but there's ways to do it because pop-ups actually do work, no doubt, but it's just need to refine the strategy. So there's two things you can do. Number one, you can have the pop-up on a time delay. That's one option. Okay, so you just put a time delay on it. It only pops up after they've been on the page for 2 minutes, right, or something like that. You just figure out what the right cadence is.
Yeah.
Another thing is you can do it based on how they're interacting with the page itself. So like if they go down here and they're like way down deep on this page, they've been here for a minute, then maybe you could hit them with the pop-up. Okay, that's another option. Option 3 is you only hit them with the pop-up when they're about to exit. So an exit intent pop-up, right? That won't affect you because they've already maybe gotten what they needed, and now you're trying to retain them, which is actually good, right? That's a good thing. The fourth way to do this is to only do a pop-up on the second page load. So they would be, something like here, and they're like, okay, I'm going to click on this one. Now they're here. And then you hit them with the pop-up. Okay. That's fine too. Okay. But those are the scenarios where just slight refinements can help kind of improve the situation. And another thing is too, like, I'm not going to keep digging into all this stuff. I mean, I could go all day, but this huge image here is another mark against user experience, because a user, when they get to your site, they need to get what they came for immediately. We're talking about humans here, okay? And humans, they used to say that we had the attention spans of goldfish, but now they're saying that our attention spans are worse than goldfish. So with that in mind, you have to really think a lot about that as far as the experience on your site. And if there's anything that stops them from getting the answer, the thing that they came for, it needs to be eradicated. And so this huge image, beautiful image, right? It's showing a lot, it's a really great image, but it's pushing all the stuff below the fold, like significantly. So one thing I would consider doing is you can even use the free version of this. Sign up for Mouseflow. Install that tracking code on your website. And I'm not much of a betting man. I mean, I'll play craps here and there, but for the most part, I would bet that if you install that tracking code on your website, you are going to find that a large percentage of people do not make it past this image. And I'm going to say as high as 80% won't even make it past this image. And the reason I know that is because on my website, where I'm very deliberate about this, like I don't mess, like you want to talk about pushing it above the fold. I push it way above the fold, like all the way. And I used to have kind of a similar layout where I had like a featured image. So it'd be like heading, this stuff, and then like one featured image. I installed Mouseflow and I saw that people, like my theory was that people were dropping because of that image. I got rid of it. And I saw an increase in user engagement on these pages. So, but I did it based on data. Like I saw the data, I came up with a hypothesis, I tested it, and come to find out my let's call it my theory was right in this one situation. But collecting that data is not just important for SEO, it's important for user experience. And more importantly, it's important for making as much money as humanly possible on this website. It's so important. We use user tracking even in the back end of our academy. Like we track everything that's going on in here. And we see how people engage with the navigation. Like we're looking like how many people click on this, how many people click on that. And we ran this analysis and we found out like a lot of people not clicking on anything. And so we had to restructure stuff and change things up and change the labels. And of course that made a significant increase in engagement. So just depends on what you're trying to achieve. Like for us in the academy, our number one metric is to make it as easy as possible for people to navigate the platform so they can get what they need and they can get the results that they desire, right? That's what we're trying to do. In the context of your e-commerce website, your job is to get people to buy stuff. That's really important, I would imagine, in your business. So, so installing that software will just, once you see the data, it's like addictive. You see the data, you see how users are engaging with things. You're going to you start learning things really fast, like insanely fast. Two things that it does. Number one, it does heat map technology, which means basically you can kind of see where users' cursor is going. You can see where people are clicking. You can see how people are scrolling. You can see all that good stuff. It also does user recordings. So it will record someone's entire session on your website. It's very creepy. It's very Big Brother. But if you're trying to make your site as good as possible, it's pretty useful. So I would just throw that out there. So just one last note on that. Okay, Alicia?
Yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Learned a lot today.
Yeah, good. Okay, Ben, go for it.
Nathan, can you, well, I guess you can because you've done it. You on gotchaseo.com, you've stopped href crawlers from checking your external links.
I have, so you can't truly stop hrefs. It's hard to do it. You can, okay, so let me rewind. If you have a private blog network, you can stop hrefs from figuring out who you're linking to, right? Like you can, it's not like if I put a block on my website, it's not going to stop hrefs from crawling from displaying my link profile because that's external, right? So hrefs will go and collect all that data for all the links that are linking to me, and it will just put it into their index. So me blocking hrefs won't stop them from indexing it, if that makes sense. The only way it works is if you can block hrefs on the sites that you have backlinks. Does that make sense?
So right now I'm putting in gotchaseo.com into hrefs, and I scroll down and I click on outgoing links, and I can't see any outgoing links from your site.
Yeah. Oh, well, that probably is because of me. Yeah, that part is, yes. Yes.
Yeah. So you've put in your robots txt to stop href crawlers from checking outgoing links or following outgoing links from your site entirely.
That I did, yes. But actually, funny enough, is just a couple days ago, I removed all directives inside my robots.txt file because I got so paranoid about SearchGPT not crawling my stuff. So, because I was actually blocking, I was blocking like many large language model crawlers from crawling my stuff because what they do is they crawl it and they steal your content and they train their AI. That's what they do, right? And so I was blocking them because, and if you want to do this, like if you go to the best, if you want to replicate it, we'll go to the New York Times, okay? Because they hate AI content. All right, so go here, and then we'll go over to, we can actually go to their robots.txt file and you'll see, you want to talk about serious operation. All right. They will go down and we'll look specifically. They block. Okay. Yeah, here's all their rules. Okay. Look, so Amazon bot, they block, another AI bot here, Apple bot extended. So you can see these are all the various bots that they block. GPT bot. This is OpenAI's bot. You see Claude here, ChatGPT. You get the point, right?
So sorry, just say what you said again. So you done it on your site because you're concerned about these AI large language models copying your content, training their AI, and repurposing it or using content similar to get rankings on Google, or whatever it is that they're looking to achieve.
Yeah. So the main reason is I didn't want them to come to my site, steal my content, and train their models.
Okay.
So, and that's what the New York Times is doing. Like the New York Times literally sued OpenAI, right? Because
your thinking is insane, but it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. Of course,
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing is like now it's an awkward situation though because look at this like search bot here. I think this is the SearchGPT bot specifically that they're blocking, but this is a very weird situation now because if you block them, you're not going to get visibility in the large language model. So it's a lose-lose situation now. You either let them steal your content or you don't get any visibility, right? And notice specifically that the New York Times does not block Google's crawler.
No.
Why do you think that is? Well, because they like getting traffic. They're not going to block Google, but they'll block the extended, by the way. And this one here specifically, this extended one here, this is not the traditional Google crawler that Google uses for just the regular index. This is specifically for Gemini. This is the Gemini crawler. So Gemini comes in, steals your content, then goes into and publishes it inside of Google, right? And natively. So you can block all that from happening. But once again, if you block Gemini from crawling your content, you're not going to appear in Gemini when people search on Google.
Of course. So you said you've removed this from your site now. So so maybe in a few weeks' time, I can come and check your outgoing links from your site.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be an interesting experiment for sure. I mean, I would assume that the recrawl would happen. So yeah, but basically what I was essentially blocking Ahrefs from crawling external links, essentially. That's the only thing it really does though. Like I said, the only way to stop, like if you wanted to hide your backlink profile, the only way to do that is if you were able to get access to every website that's linking to you and you could block Ahrefs on those websites.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. And that's why, like, I think maybe you brought it up. It was like maybe a month or so ago, some website, and I don't know if it was you or someone else, but I was convinced they're using a private blog network. And I could just tell based on something is very abnormal what was going on. But if you're using a private blog network, you can make it seem like you have no links at all. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember you going over this. I remember you showing us this. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I used to do this. Like I used to block Ahrefs and Majestic and SEMrush when I was doing private blog networks. The first thing I would do when I'd started is I'd go in and I'd block all the bots.
Yeah.
So that way you would never know that I was using a PBN. right? Google knew. Google found out, but other people didn't who were using Ahrefs and SEMrush and the other tools. So, but yeah, the New York Times, out of all the sites, they're the most extreme. They don't want anything like taking their stuff. It's too late though, because yeah. And by the way, like the thing is, it's so funny about the New York Times is like, you're trying to compete against Google and OpenAI, who these guys are playing chess and you're trying to play checkers against them. You think adding a little like directive here in the robots.txt file is going to like stop $1 trillion company from figuring out how to steal your content? No one knows how to steal content better than Google. That is their specialty.
I'm sure it sounded good when their SEO guy reported back to their boss that they've blocked the crawlers from crawling their site, and it sounded good and got him some brownie points.
Yeah, he probably got a good high five for that. But the thing is, they're going to pay the price now because Perplexity. You see, they're blocking Perplexity. They're blocking Perplexity. They're blocking SearchGPT. So now that these large language models are adding this layer of search, that changes the whole game, because now you have to view it you have to literally view ChatGPT now as a marketing channel. That's what we should view it as. It is a marketing channel. It's like Facebook. Like, that's the way we should think about it. It's like Google. It's like Facebook. It's like YouTube. It's its own marketing channel. And we have to figure out how to get visibility in this large language model. And when you look at the search traffic, like the search traffic for websites, Google's stupid. It has so much traffic. It's not even close. But I'm telling you, OpenAI and ChatGPT is climbing fast. I mean, really fast. People are using it like crazy, right?
That's what I was going to ask you. That was the next question was, how fast is it growing? And I mean, how many people are actually conducting searches in there like they would Google?
I don't think people are using it the same way they use Google. I think it's just a different experience altogether. But I think, see, the thing is, like, we're in a bubble. So like, all of you guys who are even asking this question and like, about AI, about ChatGPT, all this stuff, like, we're in a bubble, and most of the world is probably not, like, I know people who won't even shell out $20 for ChatGPT.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, and like, when I think about that, I'm like, you're not willing to spend $20 on the greatest technology maybe that's ever been invented in the history of mankind.
I can't even remember life before ChatGPT.
I know. Like, I was telling my wife, I'm like, I'm actually scared because I'm disturbed at how reliant I have become now at this point. Like, I don't know if I'm any smarter at this point. I might be dumber, but I'm at least getting things done a lot faster. So, it's like,
when my girlfriend stops talking to me, I just go on ChatGPT. It makes me feel better. So
yep. And like, that's coming too. Like, you're going to be able to get a robot girlfriend. Like, that's going to happen. Right. Like, there's no stopping that. So who knows what's going to happen? This is all just crazy. But for me, it's like, my mind, as far as I think about business and generating traffic, generating leads, generating customers, I just view it as, this is another marketing channel. This is another way to drive referral traffic that's highly qualified to right back to our website. This is nothing new. Like, when all these platforms have come about, when Facebook came and TikTok, and you go across the board, the number one strategy has always been very simple. You generate a presence on whatever channel it is, whether it's Google or YouTube or whatever, any of them. And your number one objective is to take someone who's on LinkedIn and get them back to your website. That's the goal. Every single strategy needs to revolve around that idea, because we get them back to our website. Let's say we get them back to Gotcha SEO, and I get them to the homepage. My job, once they're here, is to get them on the email list. Because once I get them on the email list, now I actually own that traffic. But up until that point, I don't own anything. Tomorrow I could get suspended on LinkedIn. 60,000 followers eradicated overnight. That's how quick it could happen. One wrong move. I write one controversial post about something, boom, suspended. I lose all of it. My email list, that's mine. That is the actual thing that matters. So that's why, like, all of these, I don't ever fear new channels or anything like that, because I know that the process is the same. Build up a presence on that channel, get them back to your website, get them on your email list. It's very simple. Just get them back to your email list. And then it becomes this circular thing. I don't talk a lot about how I promote YouTube videos and various things, but my strategy on YouTube is very simple. I create content to drive visibility on YouTube. My goal is to get them back to my website to either, obviously apply for the academy, get on the email list, whatever it is. But then what I do is when they're on the email list, I recycle them back to YouTube. So I keep getting positive signals back to YouTube, and that benefits my channel more. It's kind of a compound effect, right? And this is why people ask me, like, how do I grow my YouTube channel? And I say, build an email list. I'm like, why would I build what does that even have to do with anything? It's like, it's the most powerful weapon that you have to promote anything at any point.
Yeah.
Like right now, I can write an email, craft a little email, and make money right this second. I can do it. Like right now, I can craft an email, send it to my list, drive leads, and make money. Like, what other channel can you do that? Basically none. It's literally like the only channel that you can do that. So that's why I think this is exciting. Like I see all this and I'm like, if you can figure this out, that's why I'm so like bullish on figuring it out, because I just know there's something brewing here. And okay. I don't care about Google or Bing or whatever. I have no alliance to any search engine. I just see where is the demand? Where's the demand? And I'm going to figure out that algorithm. That is what I will do. And then I will figure out what it takes to exploit it to the fullest extent. That's it. And as of right now, the good news is the algorithms that are being used, the large language models, they are not sentient. They are not general intelligence or super intelligence. Mm-hmm. So they're not capable of like objective reasoning at this point. I have no doubt that's going to happen. But right now, it's just an algorithm that can be manipulated. So let's like try to bank on that and try to take advantage of as much as possible. And plus, on top of it, like using SEO to get visibility is really important. But just ChatGPT in general, like it's such an insane weapon. It really is. It's just mind blowing. I mean, think about how much I've been talking about this. I mean, you guys in the academy, how much you've been talking about this over and over and over for years now at this point, about how important it is. It's not getting any less powerful. It's only getting more powerful. And there's so much you can do with it. But yeah, this is a very unique time, but I think like the opportunity is there. It's like even in our businesses, there's never, and I feel bad about this, honestly, I really do. Cause like, I feel bad about people losing their jobs. Like that sucks. Like that's not a cool thing. And like, truthfully, capitalists are going to make a lot of money. It's just what's going to happen, because what's going to happen now is profitability is going to be insane. It's just going to be insane because you don't really need humans to do a lot of things anymore. Like, I feel bad about that. But like the fact that I can just go into ChatGPT and say, hey, write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and build me this tool, and I'm done in like an hour. That's just madness, truly madness. So yeah, take advantage of it. But anyway, Tomas, thank you for your patience.
No worries. Yeah, and I totally agree with that. Just to add on the ChatGPT, like I even have my dad in Argentina, like he's not using Google. He's going just to ChatGPT, right? Like, in Argentina, maybe you're not across it, but they're very active users, in Google, Facebook, although the market is not huge, but a lot of people are now just going to ChatGPT that I'm seeing more and more. So aligned to what you were saying, that the change is coming and it's already happening.
It's already here. Yeah, it's already here.
And that's a 65-year-old man, right? Like he's like, oh, I just go into there and type it, and then he uses YouTube. Those are his search engines.
Yeah, well, and it's scary how, and at least I found this, like how much we believe the stuff that it produces. Like, like for example, I'm working on an article now that's like some sort of affiliate like comparison, two different programs, and I put Rankability in there. I fed it our inputs, and it just comes up with stuff that's totally made up. And I'm like, what is that? Like, it's like, yeah, they have this paragraph generator tool you can use. And I'm like, what? Like, you just make things up. And like, that's what's kind of scary about it. People trust it a little too much. But anyway, yeah.
No, I'll ask them. Sorry, the question I had was, and again, I've been playing now some weeks with the tool. So, if it's all right, let me know if there's time. If not, I'll save it for the next one. It's just on the word count and like what I've been seeing from my copywriters, just to see what's best practice. I'll quickly share. So, I've been coming from using for years my other tool. Well, I'll name it, on Surfer. So I was used to like, in a lot of cases, for instance, getting a lot of work on, right? So this is a buyer's agent, and that I run it through Rankability. Funny enough, when this is the outcome from the copywriter, and I'm also asking my copywriters, and apparently all of them are actually liking more Rankability because of the relevance, like the quality, right? So I guess my first question on this one is fine because she made the optimal word count. I do notice as well that they're taking these directories, which I think you mentioned that if they're ranking, they should still use it because a lot of them, like these two, position 2 and 4 are directories, right? There's not, and you can see that Rankability score tends to be higher. But what's your view? For instance, this is for a lawyer. When I gave him specific word count on 1200, which of course I'm not going to pay for what he's like the extra, is this an issue overall? In your experience, like you want to be more on the lower end, or if you're still in the range and it's a bit higher than the minimum, it's still fine? Like, what's your view there?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been able to quantifiably prove this exact scenario, like, because I've just found that if it's in the range, you're probably okay. This is more of a suggestion that because I'm a writer and I know that people will juice their stuff, right? So they see this range of 2,900. I'm going to go to 2,900, and they're gonna fluff it up. They're gonna make it they're not going to practice brevity, right? And so the reason is to go on the low end is because if we do 1,200, we're going to hit on the topics in a very clean and efficient way. Right? Clean and efficient. We're not going to fluff it up. We're not going to add a bunch of junk. It's just going to be really, really lean. And especially when you're working with, bus accident lawyer, which has commercial intent, right? If you think about how that page is going to be structured, it's not going to be like really long paragraphs. It's going to be, probably left, right format. There's going to be certain sections. Like it's not your traditional blog post format. It's going to be very different. So even like logistically and execution wise, you can't have a lot of words. It just gets super ugly, super fast if you do that. And if that's something you care about as far as UI and design and experience, that's why like 2,000 words on a page about bus accident lawyer.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard to make that look clean, right? That's going to be really
exactly.
hard.
And that's what I said to him, because there has to be, blurbs and like 1 to 3 title sentences of like, it's not just a bunch of text, and we're very specific with the design. But no, that helps me answer that, because the follow-up I had on that is on this Rankability score. I know you mentioned this has kind of the buffer based on the competitors. So do you, to get the best results, like what's your recommendation with, let's say, copywriters, or even for personal assets that we are writing? Like the higher the better, or just hitting that optimal will still get the main results?
Yeah, I mean, this is the great debate. So I can tell you, this: hitting the optimal is absolutely the bare minimum you should do. The question is there a significant difference going from 64 to 100 or 64 to 74 or 64 to 84? Like that's where it starts the waters get muddied a lot. And it's harder to say if the law of diminishing returns starts to set in at a certain level, right? It's just hard to say. And I have a lot of data, but I don't think I have enough data to quantifiably say whether you should or not. What I do know, though, this is actually proven, is we haven't seen any decrease in performance by going higher. Never seen that. Never seen that. The only time that I've seen a decrease in performance is when you're using the other tools and you're focused on, I'm going to inject bus accident lawyer 55 times in the content.
Right.
If you do that, absolutely, you will get wrecked. I have seen declines in people doing that because Google's good at catching keyword stuffing. It's super easy. Google can just crawl the page, see, okay, bus accident lawyer is the main topic of the page. Okay, there's bus accident lawyer 17 times. They're clearly trying to manipulate the algorithm. Like that's how quickly it can come to that conclusion, right? But if you mention it 1-2 times, it's really natural. You're not going to trip up the algorithm. So that's why for me, I don't care about how many times it's mentioned. It's just covering those topics. If it's a sentence or it's a paragraph, it doesn't make a difference. We're just covering as many as we can. And I have, like I said, I have pages where I rank by just hitting the optimal. And I have some where I went to full 100 and that worked incredibly well. So, and it's a type of thing where it's like, I feel like going to 100 is like, that's, you need to have some skill to go to 100. Okay. Like going to 100 requires you to use pretty advanced copywriting techniques. Like, for example, if I had Simon write one, like he could do it. He could go to 100 because if it was like, you're looking at these, go down to the like bottom of this list and go to the like least relevant ones. Like sometimes you'll see stuff in here that's a little wacky, right? Just occasionally you'll see something in there. It might be like for some unknown reason, one of the competitors talked about bananas, right? Like maybe someone slipped on a banana and fell and got a settlement out of it, right? And like, so banana is one of the words you have to use. Well, I would figure out a way to integrate that into the copy in a very natural way, right? And it might even be like using a little bit of humor in there, right? But I would figure out a way. That is not for everyone. And to be honest, for these types of pages where it's commercial in nature, you're probably not working with, let's say, the best copywriters on the planet. You're probably working with good copywriters. They're solid. They're better than ChatGPT. Let's just say that much. Okay. Like ChatGPT is average copy and they're above them, above ChatGPT. That's in most cases, at least who I'm working with in a lot of cases. So that's why I'm saying like, that's why I don't push any writers to go beyond optimal because I just know what they'll do. And I don't want them to do that. I just want them to just do the, and if I have to come in, like if it's an important asset, I'll come in and do some stuff, but hit the optimal. And the good news about this too, is like, I would view it as like, this is a minimum viable type of page as well. So this first run you do at optimization is just the first run. Then you measure performance over the course of, let's say, 2 to 3 months. You reflect on that performance and you say, okay, maybe we're sitting number 5. You run another analysis and you see, okay, I think we need to beef this up a little bit, a little more relevance, push it a little bit harder. But you don't feel the need to do that right out of the gate. Like I said, I'll only do it out of the gate if it's something highly competitive. Like,
got it.
Like I rank for SEO tools for agencies. Like that's a competitive keyword, right? I went crazy with that one. I went full 100 blast of relevance on that, right? But that's because I knew what I was up against. And at least I could mark it off the list and say, okay, relevance is not the reason why this page is not ranking, right?
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
guaranteed. So it's more for that reason. But yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. And this is actually another copywriter for health is quite expensive that my client pays. And I told her to go 70 and she went 93. So she went a bit crazy, but
Yeah,
again,
but if she can do it naturally.
It reached well, but the issue was that again, she didn't adhere to the word count. But she said that she struggled to fit it in 1100.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be too concerned about that.
Okay.
I think a little bit above is like not a big deal. If she was at like 2700, then I'd be like, okay, come on. Like you could have definitely cut some stuff off. But 1600, I wouldn't sweat that at all. Not at all.
Okay.
Simon, would you agree with that? As far as word count? Because Simon is here. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Can you repeat?
Yeah. Well, I was just saying, like, the optimal word count here was 1100. She got 16. That's not anything to sweat, right?
Exactly. I mean, once again, just to be really specific, the 1100 and 2700, they're percentiles. So the 1100 represents the bottom 25th percentile, and the 2700 represents the top 75th percentile. It's just a fancy way of saying that we're getting rid of the lowest 25% and the highest 25%. So the idea is to just give a range that is based on the top ranking competitors. But like Nathan said, it really doesn't matter. We generally aim towards the lower percentile, because if you're within the range, why create more work than you need to, right? That being said, it's no big deal if you're somewhere in that range. And quite frankly, even if you're slightly below that range, or let's say you cover a lot of topics and you're even above 2,700, like 28, 29, 3,000. Again, Google has emphasized over and over again, there's absolutely no direct, word count is not a ranking factor, right? So it's not like you're going to get somehow penalized at all if you're slightly below or slightly above. But the idea is we still want to have an idea that makes logical sense that, okay, even though we know it's not a ranking factor, well, why don't we look at the guys who are doing the best in the first page, though, and just give us a ballpark of what to shoot for? Because once again, why create more work than you need to? So yeah, as long as it's somewhere near in that range, give or take, you're totally fine. That's why Lathan and I kind of give that range, because we never want to just create more work for people than they need to. And we don't want to, again, over geek out on this stuff, because it really doesn't matter. It's more about covering the topics extensively, creating high quality content, and making sure you have the NLP keywords in there naturally. That's it.
Thanks, guys. And yes, I said I'm kind of rewriting a lot of the work I've done with the other tools. So it's interesting to see the different scores. And yeah, I'm getting, in the other ones, it was sometimes higher word count. So now I'm trying to reduce it to what Rankability is showing me. So yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
Thanks,
that's good. Yeah. My pleasure. All right, guys. Well, that's it. You guys have a good rest of the week. We'll talk soon. Thanks.